In this video, I'm going to give you some tips and guidelines to be respectful, to be confident, and to put your best foot forward going into potentially what could be a new relationship. In preparing this video, I've reflected on my own first dates. I had a conversation with my girlfriend about her experiences, and I asked some of my female friends about some of the green flags and some of the red flags that they've dealt with when going on first dates. I think there are some universal truths, things that all women, all girls enjoy from a man, and there are also some nuances which you're going to have to figure out on your own, but I hope that with this guideline you'll be able to make better informed decisions and be a more respectful and more gentlemanly person to be on a date with. First step, women like a man with a plan. Nobody wants a guy who can't say what they want to do, where they want to go, when they want to do it. When planning the first date, it's up to you to take the lead. If you haven't already established some common interests, I would highly suggest going with a dinner date as the first date. Coffee, walks, drinks, these are all fine, but these are all more casual options that to a woman don't communicate that you're as serious about dating her as dinner does. It's a very classic option. It shows that you know how to date like an adult, and it's also a great environment for conversation. So how are you going to pick a restaurant? Well, you want to do some research online. You might already have a place that you've been before. Perhaps you have like a regular first date spot and you know that it's within budget, you know that it's a nice ambiance, not too loud. You want to be able to have a conversation in there. If you want to go somewhere new, that can be fun to have a novel experience with this other person. I would recommend that you ask your friends for some recommendations. They're going to be able to tell you better than a Yelp review what the place was like, how the food was it too noisy, was it romantic, or was it more for families? I really would stress that you want to go somewhere that isn't too loud. On a first date situation, if you go to a restaurant where the music is blaring and you can't really talk together, it's going to be very hard to build rapport. So pick somewhere where it's quiet enough that you can have a nice conversation, has a nice ambiance, nice decor, and the food is good. The outfit that you're going to wear, it really depends on the venue. You want to dress your best, but that doesn't necessarily mean dressing formally. Take a look online, go on Instagram, go on Yelp, see how people are dressing at this restaurant, and just dress the best version of that. If you're a guy who is in great shape, I would recommend wearing well-fitted clothing so that you can see the effort that you put into your body. A couple of last-minute things before you leave the house: brush your teeth, floss, use mouthwash, check your skin, check your nails, clean your ears, and have a few spritzes of cologne. That way, as soon as you arrive to the date, you know that you've ticked off all the boxes, you're not worried about anything in the back of your mind, and you're looking your best for this date. Okay, so if you have a car, I would highly suggest that you offer to pick her up. A couple of women have told me that sometimes they feel hesitant, particularly if it's a guy they've never met before, about just getting in his car and going to some unknown location for dinner. If she tells you when you're texting that she would rather meet you there, that's fine. Don't pressure her into getting a lift from you. But most women will accept this, most women will be very grateful. Before you go pick her up, you need to make sure that your car is clean. A Toyota Camry that has been washed and has a nice interior is going to be much better than a BMW that's full of scratches and McDonald's wrappers in the footwell. Make sure that it smells good. This is why you should never eat in your car, and this is why you should have an air freshener up too. When you arrive, if she lives in an apartment, just wait for her at the downstairs door, don't try and come up. And then when you get to your car, open the car door for her. This is an absolute must, in my opinion. You don't want to be the guy that she goes home to and talks about and says, oh, the date was great, but he didn't open the door for me. Just a quick word on flowers and gifts. In some first date situations, this can be a little bit awkward, especially if you're just arriving somewhere where she's got to carry these flowers around with her for the next 2 hours. One option that I think is a nice, sweet idea, if you guys have been talking about some interest already over text, maybe you could get her a little gift that's related to that. Just something small, like $10, $20. You don't want to go overboard because then it looks a little bit too creepy. But just something small and sweet that you think she'll appreciate, I think could go a long way. And if you're picking up the girl to the date, even if the date is a complete disaster, obviously still take her home and just be polite and respectful about that. Well, the date really is all about conversation. Everybody has a unique perspective on life. Everybody has their own experiences. I personally believe that everybody has at least something interesting about them. So you're gonna have the opportunity to eat some nice food and get to know this person in a relaxed setting. What could be better? You want to have a natural flowing conversation, and sometimes that is going to involve extended periods of you talking about yourself. If you get on a topic that you're particularly passionate about, maybe she asks you about your interests, then you can keep talking about that, and she will probably enjoy seeing you light up and get excited over that topic. It's just important that you also have periods in the date where you're flipping that around and you're getting her to talk about things that she is interested in, she's excited about, so that overall it pretty much balances out. You shouldn't be making any kind of physical contact during the date. You just want to make eye contact, and eye contact is especially important if you want to build a connection with this person. You'll even notice this with friends. If you're talking to somebody and you're looking them in the eye, you're much more likely to engage them in your conversation. You're more likely to feel a stronger connection, and absolutely the same applies in a romantic setting. You might have come across eye contact tricks if you're really into the dating game. You might end up getting a little bit too in your head about this and not being in the moment because you're trying to think, oh, I've got to look here, I've got to look down there for 2 seconds, okay, now back to her eyes, now lips. And don't do that. Just look her in the eyes and just be respectful and show that you're listening and show that you're engaged. You don't need to complicate it any further than that. There are a few other rules about dating that I think are pretty much universal truths. The first one is watch what you drink. Even if you're not driving, don't go and get drunk. If you do, that just makes you look really immature, and not only does it ruin the girl's experience, but it also ruins your own, because when you're not sober, you're not in a position to make a good judgment about this other person. You're not able to reflect on the date the next day with a clear head and say, oh, well, I like this about her. It's all gonna be a haze. So, enjoy a drink or two by all means. Have a cocktail, maybe try each other's cocktails, that can be fun, but don't go and get slaughtered, okay? I think people say slaughtered in America. In the UK, it means very drunk. Another thing you really want to avoid is eating foods with too much garlic or onions. Italian restaurants are very popular for dates. They also love garlic. So, unfortunately, I would say in the first few dates, you want to avoid eating something that's going to make your breath stink. And finally, I would say don't go on your phone. You might whip your phone out because you want to show her a picture of your dog or something that you're interested in and she wants to see it, but don't just be on your phone. Don't text your mates during the day. Don't take pictures of your food. If she wants to do that, then fine, but this is not something you should be doing. Likewise, don't go to the bathroom for like 10 minutes to call your friend. I know a lot of women do this, and then you end up sitting there like nervously for 10 minutes wondering if she's just gone out the bathroom window. You don't want to give her that experience. So, if you have to go to the bathroom, fine, but don't go and call your friend or stay texting 10 people during the date. I highly, highly recommend that you pay the bill with pretty much no exceptions. Why? Well, you've chosen the place that you wanted to go on a date. You've chosen the time that you wanted to go on a date. You've chosen that you want to go to this place at this time with that person. So far, it's all been down to you. And I would say that when the bill arrives, it's still down to you to pay it too. Also, what you don't know is that a girl has put a lot of effort and a lot of time to get ready for that date. She might have spent money on a new outfit. She might have spent money on her nails, on her hair. Gentlemen, these things are more expensive than you would believe. So it also shows that you respect her time and that you are prepared to be an adult, that you're confident in your own financial security. You don't have to go anywhere fancy, guys. Go somewhere that you can afford to pay for two. It also removes that really awkward moment sometimes where the server comes and brings the bill and he might put it in the nether zone between you and her. He might put it a little bit nearer to you, trying to give you a hint, and then you have this standoff where you both look down at the little checkbook and you look at her and then you look back and you go, oh. No, don't do that. You want to just get your wallet out, put it down, and then when the server comes back, leave a nice tip. So by this point, the date is pretty much over, and I would suggest that it's okay to have a definitive ending to the date. One thing you're going to have to decode yourself is whether at the end of the date it feels natural to say if you want to go on a second date or not, or if this is something you want to think about yourself and then text her at a later time. If you really loved spending time with this girl, it might be very natural to already organize a second date. Likewise, if you weren't really feeling it, but you feel like she wouldn't take that too well, then you don't have to necessarily say one way or the other. You can just take her home and speak over text. Just please make sure that you don't do the worst thing possible, which is where that you say that you had a great time and you say that you want to go on a second date, but then you either ghost her or you text her the next day and say, actually, I don't want to go on a second date. If you already know at the end of the date that you never want to see this person again, you don't have to say it to her face. You can be kind and you can be respectful, but just don't give her the wrong idea. If you did like her, I would suggest that the next day you follow up with a text message, you tell her you had a great time, and you ask her if she'd like to go on a second date. If she does, then you can also probably take the lead on a second date. Maybe you guys actually discussed something during the first date that she might like to do, or she expressed a particular interest in going someplace. Then that can show that you've listened and you can plan the second date at that place. Also, by this point, you might have established some common interests beyond eating food, so you can go and do something other than a restaurant. Okay, the final point that I want to make is a really important one, and it's something that my girlfriend mentioned to me, which I think a lot of men are getting wrong, okay? In this video, I've talked about a lot of things that you should do which require effort on your part. They require your time, they require your discipline, and they require your money. Now, even if you spent hundreds of dollars on this restaurant, even if you've picked her up and driven an hour to go get her and done the valet and all of this elaborate stuff and bought her flowers, she doesn't owe you anything because of that. It's still totally up to her to make an impartial decision about you as a man, the time she spent with you, and whether or not she wants to continue dating you. In fact, she doesn't owe you anything more than if you'd gone to McDonald's and gone through the drive-thru and asked her to pay for half. So why are we doing all this stuff? Well, in my opinion, it's all about being the best version of yourself that you can be. It's about showing that you have the initiative to come up with dates and to take her on an adventure. It's about showing that you can be respectful. It's about showing that you're interested in her and in getting to know her better. I think there's something magical about having this 1 or 2 hour evening where you can go and enjoy some nice food, get dressed up nicely, spend time with a nice woman, and get to know her and get somebody else's perspective on life and somebody else's story. That's the attitude that you should go into this with. Whether or not it ends up working out is not always in your hands, but if you follow these steps, then you'll know that you put your best foot forward. In other words, you can't buy romance, but it certainly helps to show effort. So gentlemen, that's it. I would love to know in the comments what you're planning on doing for your next date and what you'll be wearing. Good luck and go and enjoy those first dates.